If it's happening in New York, New Jersey, or Long Island, hear about it with Joe Piscopo. Mornings, 6 to 10 on AM 970. The Answer.
Portions of this show sponsored by Hudson Honda.
You know, it's so funny. We're talking with Ed Cox, chairman of the New York State Republican Party. Ed, you look great, man.
You do too,
No,
Joe.
I'm telling you,
Yeah.
we're getting older. We're trying to hold on here. Dr. Melinda Keller's going to help out with her weight loss program. Aside from the hernia surgery that I have on Friday, thank you for asking. Yeah. You said it's easy. You're hearing it.
Don't mention it. Yeah.
Don't mention it. You look at nice blue suit you got. I tell you. Well, we're talking about the president and with Dr. Nan Hayward. The president, and again, I'm talking to you. They always say to me every time I say anything about the president, you're pro-Trump. Oh, you're pro-Trump. I'm just saying objectively, 71 years old.
71
this guy
years
is
old.
smoking.
Energized, absolutely, he was. You know, the first thing he did was run for governor here in New York State. People forget that. That was his entry into the political arena.
You're good.
In 2014.
Wow.
Yeah. And he developed his style here in campaigning upstate New York. And then he decided he wouldn't do that and went on to be president of the United States.
Oh, amazing. And you talk with him? You talk with him
sure.
regularly, the president?
Well, during the campaign,
Yeah.
we were at certain points we were right there because New York State was crucial. He won our primary hands down. He got 60% in it.
Yeah.
And that's what made him the presumptive nominee.
So I'm confused, and again, I'm going to get everybody. I'm going to tick off half our audience, and certainly Frank Morano, Frankie Five Boroughs. That I know Andrew Cuomo for many, many years. Loved Matilda, loved Mario. You know, I'm a former lifelong Dem. Now I'm like a more of a libertarian, independent guy. Yeah. What's going on with this corruption trial? Is there any bite to this that we're seeing?
You know, it's broader than that. These trials, the money that was ripped off by two of his close associates, Piscopo and Howe,
gotta be an Italian
is actually
guy.
symptomatic because Andrew Cuomo himself lined his campaign coffers with these projects all around New York State, where he wasted billions of dollars that could have been used on repairing the subways of New York City.
How do you work that out?
That's the real scandal.
So no one's watching it. And did Andrew do that? Was that
This was during his 2014 campaign. He announced the Buffalo Billion. He announced the film studio. It's part of this corruption trial in Syracuse. That film studio's empty now. It was wasting money.
So he raised the money and then he diverted it to his campaign.
And these factories were built on no bid recontracts by contractors who put hundreds of thousands of dollars into Andrew Cuomo's campaign coffers. That's the real scandal.
Is that what's? And that's how do you think the Piscopo thing turns out?
You know, whether convicted or not, it stinks.
Yeah,
it stinks.
Yeah.
Here he was in a few feet away from Andrew Cuomo's office here while he was being paid for doing Andrew's campaign. He is working out of the government offices right next to Andrew Cuomo, doing the things, making calls to government officials for which he got funds from the people who benefited from those government actions. And Andrew Cuomo is right next door, right there.
What bothers me, first of all, I like the loyalty of Piscopo to his friend Andrew. Second of all, it sounds too much like Piscopo. I don't like that. They're getting confused.
Yeah, you're just an underpaid radio announcer, Joe.
Yo, you got that right. Well, at least I got my microphone working, and we didn't even have that earlier. So can the Republicans win statewide, you think, in New York State? How do you feel about the
absolutely.
party?
Corruption is huge. This is the most corrupt governor in New York State in more than 100 years. I went through them one by one, starting with Charles Evans Hughes and Al Smith and FDR, Nelson Rockefeller, Tom Dewey, even Mario Cuomo. They never would have thrown money around like this. Public money, wasted billions. Billions. These factories are empty all around the state now, and these were announced during his 2014 campaign, built by contractors who gave hundreds of thousands of dollars to his campaign coffers. That's the real scandal.
So your father-in-law was actually Richard Nixon.
Yes.
Was Nixon. So I have to say, I'm in high school on a personal level. I'm in high school, and I think I played Nixon at a debate, and I minded Richard Nixon. I don't know why I liked Richard Nixon. Like I always thought I saw I don't want to say intellect, maybe his concentration on the job. You know what I mean?
He very focused, very concentrated, very intelligent.
Very dedicated to the office.
He understood how the world worked.
Yeah, and compared to nowadays, what's going on, what you
Yeah.
see is going on, Watergate just seems like a fluke. Am I wrong? Am I being too dramatic here?
In the context, what's going on with the real corruption here was the Justice Department, very politicized Justice Department. And they're the lawyers who tell the FBI what to do, and that resulted in the strange things that Comey did, and it resulted in this FISA warrant and a lot of things that the FBI shouldn't have done, but it all came from the Justice Department and their Inspector General of the Justice Department.
Yeah.
When that report comes out in several months, that will tell the story of the real corruption.
Ed Cox with Piscopo in the morning, 8:33. But honestly, think about it. If you're gonna, again, like I said to Dr. Hayworth, you're gonna use the FBI for a political takedown. I mean, and there it is. It's right there in black and white with the dossier. Look what Nixon did, and I'm wondering if it isn't that this president, walk me through this, Ed, because this is conjecture here on my part. Maybe because the president calls out fake news, calls out the press. Maybe now the press says, well, we really better watch our backs because we really better cover ourselves. But in the day of Watergate, they had carte blanche to go after a president.
Well, also, both houses of Congress were run by Democrats at the time.
Yeah,
That's a huge difference.
Yeah.
Think if the House and Senate were now run by the Democrats with Trump as president. Don't you think they'd have articles of impeachment going through the House now?
Yeah. Oh, forget about it. Yeah, speaking of which, do you think they'll go after the President Trump in this regard? Impeachment? They're going to.
Well, if the Democrats win the House in November, absolutely.
They're going to start that, right?
Yeah, it's all political. It's all political.
And what about this Democratic?
But one thing you left out here. You know, the first thing that I did after I left college?
What's that?
Work with Ralph Nader.
Right.
Investigated the Federal Trade Commission.
That's, of course, I should know that.
Investigated
How cool was that?
and we showed up corruption at the Federal Trade Commission. We got some people fired from it, and in the end, we did a big report that changed it completely into a real consumer advocates agency. I got to tell you, I know corruption when I see it, and I can see here what the Cuomo administration has been doing, throwing money around, makes them the most corrupt governor in the last century in New York State.
Hey, Governor Cuomo, do you think? Now I know him, so I have to be a devil's advocate here. I don't see Andrew doing that purposely. Maybe the people around him. I don't see.
No.
Isn't he too smart to do that? That's what I'm saying, huh?
He's all about power and position now. As people knew Mario well, like Alan Shartock called him the Dark Prince. He believes in the Machiavellian thing. It's better to be feared than loved. And let me tell you, he wants to show people he's the boss, he's in charge, he's running, and you better do what he's saying. As one of his chiefs of staff said about him with Andrew Cuomo, it's go along with him or kill.
Yeah, well, hey, you know what? Your middle name is Finch. It's 8:35, and Ned, we appreciate you stopping by. One of our great callers is Charlie Finch. We call him the Professor, a great guy. That's a coincidence. So you are cousins or something?
Yeah. He was related to my grandfather, Edward R. Finch.
All right. And then before we let you go, the Republicans haven't won a statewide office since 2002, and that's quite a dry spell. Do you think there's anything about the Republican Party's message or platform that needs to be tweaked a little bit?
Here in New York, we're about economic. Look, in 2016, New York State grew at 1/4 of the national rate, about 0.4% growth in New York State, while the national economy grew at 1.9%, which is pretty anemic as it is. Now with Trump's deregulation and tax cuts, the economy is growing will be growing over 3%. Certainly for the last couple quarters of last year, it was growing over 3%. It's grown. But New York, we have a stagnant economy because this governor has been killing the industries, whether it's the natural gas industry, the pipeline industry. He attacked the finance industry here. This is not good for New York. We should be in the lead, growing faster than the national rate. We're growing slower. And upstate New York is really hurting. Every county in New York State, except for 3 small counties, 54 counties, unemployment is going up, while the national unemployment's going down. That's because of Andrew Cuomo's economic problems. We're about jobs, and we'll do the things here in New York State that will bring good jobs back to New York State. That's what the Republican Party is about.
There's Ed Cox, man, chairman of the New York State Republican Party. Ed, thanks for coming in person, man.
It's my pleasure.
So I'm a political junkie here. So you're with Richard Nixon. He's your father-in-law. Any inside line? Yeah, a one-on-one conversation, a private conversation that you could share with us on the air.
Sure.
I mean, I'm just fascinated by this.
China. I'm a senior in college, and I'm dating Tricia, waiting for her to change at his Fifth Avenue apartment here. He comes in campaign in February of '68.
Dating his daughter.
And Rockefeller is spreading the word that Nixon's got a secret plan for peace in Vietnam and the world. So he's there. I asked him, what's your plan?
One-on-one.
Yeah, what's your plan? You know what he says? I'm going to go to Peking, I'm going to go to Moscow, and that's where we're going to bring peace in the world.
Wow. So
This was February of '68.
Yeah.
Now, of course,
yeah.
they didn't tell anyone that.
Yeah.
But sure enough, and then National Security Memorandum, he says to Henry Kissinger, their first meeting in the Oval Office, Henry Kissinger comes back to his staff, and I heard this from his staff. He says, this man, he's crazy. He thinks we're going to China. Well, guess what? They went to China because the president willed it.
Yeah, amazing.
And that changed the world.
Ed, thanks for coming in.
My pleasure.
God bless you. Godspeed with the party, man. Good
Yeah.
luck with
All
everything.
right.
Ed Cox right there. Piscopo in the morning, 8:38.
Everybody knows this guy. Now, everybody knows he can do a radio show. Joe Piscopo. Mornings, 6 to 10 on AM 970. The Answer.